Welcome to the Growth Shift. I'm David Zylstra. Here's what I've learned after years in business. Every leader who's built something meaningful has a story, but the moment they had to shift, when failure forced innovation, when change became opportunity, when they chose growth over comfort. On this show, we dive into those pivotal moments, the setbacks that became breakthroughs, the strategic shifts that accelerated growth, and the frameworks that turned obstacles into opportunities. Because here's the truth. In a world where change is the only constant, the leaders who thrive aren't the ones who avoid failure. They're the ones who've learned to shift strategically through it. So whether you're facing your own pivot point or just want to learn from someone who's been there, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. This episode is brought to you by Valentix. At Valentix, we work with B2B coaches and consultants who are struggling with generating consistent high-quality leads, automating their client onboarding processes, and scaling their operations without simply adding more hours or headcount. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because they're bogged down in manual tasks and feel like they're missing out on the power of modern technology. But with the right strategy and AI-powered solutions, they're able to streamline their workflows, attract better opportunities, and achieve sustainable growth. If that sounds like you or someone you know, learn more at valentix.io. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Today on The Growth Shift, we are thrilled to welcome Debbie Radish-Respess, the visionary founder of Invisible Horizons Coaching. Debbie's journey is a powerful testament to living in one's zone of genius. Having made a massive pivot from a 3-decade career in corporate America, spanning operations, supply chain, and human resources, to becoming a certified executive coach. She now empowers senior executives to align their people strategy with business goals, fostering true impact with leaders who embrace vulnerability and the human element. Debbie is not only a seasoned expert, but also a pioneer in values-aligned leadership, actively launching new programs like BoardX Ready to prepare executives for the highest echelons of leadership. Her insights into strategic adaptation, human-centric leadership, and navigating market saturation make her an invaluable guide for our audience. Debbie, welcome to The Growth Shift.
Thank you so much, David. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Well, I'm excited to have you here. Now, you have an extensive 3-decade career in corporate America, encompassing many things, right? Operations, supply chain management, human resources. It's provided quite the foundation for your work today. Could you perhaps take us back and share what initially drew you to these diverse and various corporate roles and how those experiences ultimately shaped your understanding of organizational dynamics and people strategy, which led you to where you are today?
Yeah, I think I kind of fell into my initial roles, and it started with logistics. And then I got into manufacturing, and it's just in my blood. So going into operations and supply chain was very natural. And as I grew older, I saw a massive gap in people leadership. And as I was going through my undergrad and then my master's, working full time, I said, I think I want to get into human resources and see if I can help bridge some gaps in how to lead, not just technically, but actually with the heart. And that's kind of what drew me into human resources and leadership development, business strategy, organizational strategy, etc.
Okay, amazing. So, I mean, you fell into some initial roles there, but obviously you found some purpose and maybe some meaning in each of those roles. You weren't just jumping back and forth, but you had long enough within each of them to fully understand them and progress forwards within them. But through that journey, I believe you started to identify maybe some shortcomings, right? I mean, you went back to school, you decided to, pursue HR. Were there any specific experiences or occurrences through your journey that sort of just started to open up your eyes to these problems that you identified to pursue?
Yeah, David, I think I'm a very empathetic person. I'm pretty direct, but I have a huge heart. My voice doesn't always match my heart. And I noticed that leaders were not leading through authenticity or vulnerability. Manufacturing is a very old industry in the United States. and not a lot has changed in it. And I think that I started recognizing that we were leaving people on the side. And I have a knack and a purpose to find people's zones of genius. I think I've been doing that since I was a kid. And I'm like, man, I think I want to really touch human lives, not just through the profession of HR, but being able to maybe influence other leaders to take a step into the uncomfortableness of being human and actually leading with the heart instead of leading with always the numbers or always the deliverables. I think you can get more accomplished when you treat people in a way that they feel seen and heard and valued, and you get so much more because they own what they're providing. It took me a while, even as a leader. It took me a long time to even understand that myself, but now I see it and I can help others unleash that.
Something I'm curious about, Debbie, is that, your decision to move forwards into business, for yourself, because ultimately, you're mentioning that you noticed that leaders and organizations perhaps, weren't really focusing on authenticity as well as, vulnerability and that human element of things. So you pursued HR, but surely you could have had quite an impact within HR, 30 years in corporate America, you could have continued growing and, climbing the ladder and still had great impact within organizations, following this belief or this approach. What ultimately led you to a point where you decided that, this isn't a problem I can solve from within?
I think that the biggest change occurred when there was a gap in my values and what I believed and the company's values and what kind of the direction that they were going. Every organization goes through growth and change, and people do too. And I think after 30 years, I just got to a point where I'm like, you know what? Let me just see what's on the other side of this. And David, quite honestly, I didn't know that I was going to start my own business. I was leaving an organization thinking I was going to go back into a different role somewhere else, but there was a different plan. And Invisible Horizons Coaching and Consulting just launched, and it's been over 7 years now. I started it in 2018 when I left corporate. I've never looked back. I feel that I have a gift to be able to touch and help others externally, and they can make the changes internally in the organization. And I have more influence that way. And I get to learn so much more because I get to work with so many different industries and different organizations and just different people. That's my zone of genius. So I've kind of found where I fit, and that just makes it all better. Like that's what gets me excited, is that I can have more influence as an outside consultant or coach as opposed to only influencing an organization.
So here you're mentioning, values, you're talking about, vulnerability, authenticity, something you've mentioned a couple of times as well is this zone of genius idea. I mean, so with Invisible Horizons, can you perhaps elaborate on how it is you're bringing all of these things together and what it is you're actually doing with individuals? You're mentioning, of course, working with people on the outside so they can make impact on the inside, but what does that actually look like in your day to day?
Good gracious, that's a lot. That's a heavy question. It could be anything from individual executive coaching or leadership coaching to leadership workshops. I've got a business partner that we do strategic development and execution. We try to touch kind of both sides of an organization. My tagline is bridge the gap between your people and your purpose. The people is the people strategy. The purpose is going to be your organizational strategy. What is the company trying to accomplish from a revenue standpoint, from a community touch standpoint, whatever that may be. My company helps those organizations bridge that gap because that is where that's what I saw when I was in corporate. There was always this little opening of, we're not quite doing enough with the people, or we're too heavily focused on something, but we're not aligning people to the purpose of the company to really move forward. So my company really focuses on, where does an organization start, kind of where are they, where do they want to go, and what is most important. Sometimes it's value design, sometimes it's strategic design, sometimes it's organizational. Other times it's, hey, our leaders just aren't aligned at all. We've got 10, 12, 15 different leaders who are kind of doing their own thing. Most people are still working virtually, so they're not in an office, they're not building that rapport and that relationship. And my programs help bridge that, literally learn how to do that from a virtual standpoint so that you can actually still be human even when you're literally looking at a screen.
So we're talking about bridging the gap between people and purpose, right? Helping executives find alignment within themselves and perhaps within their teams additionally. Do you have any stories that you could share with us of, how this actually played out for one of your clients and the true impact that it had beyond just, alignment, personal alignment and bridging small gaps, but, what sort of outcomes does this really help companies achieve?
There's a lot of intangibles. You got to start with that because when you talk human, it's about how people show up, what their mindset is, what matters to them. But ultimately, I've got a client that their executive team, there were 8 of them. There was a lot of dysfunction, a lot of infighting. Most of them would not speak up in the meeting, and you could just feel the tension. When we started working with them, you could just feel there was this underlying current of something. And as we started working with them on a monthly basis from a team standpoint, as well as individually, you started kind of learning what were some of the challenges, some of the hurdles that the executive team was feeling. It's a family-owned business, so you have some dynamics with that. And after the first year of being able to really do a deep dive, really get a feel for, hey, where do we want this organization to go? Not just where the owners want it to go, but as a team, all of a sudden, people were not afraid to speak up. So profitability went up, teamwork went up. I mean, you had the internal office going to the field and the field coming in and better understanding. And it trickled down from the executive team down to the entry level intern, where people started feeling happier. Revenues did go up, customer service scores went up. Sales was better, marketing got better because they were much more clear on what they wanted and who they wanted to be. Values got rewritten. I mean, it was just, they almost did kind of like a complete redesign, but it literally started with really hard conversations that seem very easy. It's like, why can't we just get along? Well, because good conflict is good, but you have to learn how to do it in order to be able to come out stronger on the other side. And that's one of those things. So it's it runs the gamut depending on who the client is. David and I work with everything from 10 employees up to thousands of employees. And there's always some ROI. You're doing a kind of a pre-work, hey, where are we right now, that baseline, and then you leave and you go, okay, where are we now? What did we gain? And in that short period of time, sometimes it's just awareness. I am so much more aware of how I talk, or I'm more aware of how I'm not making eye contact, or I'm more aware of, I always put the client first over the company, or whatever. I mean, it's just, and when leaders start thinking about, I'm much more aware of this, now they can actually take action and do something with it. And that's my zone of genius because I know what they should be doing or what they could be doing, and I can help lead them into this different zone for themselves to go, man, this is a little uncomfortable, but it feels good and it feels right, and I'm kind of liking the uncomfortableness.
So you come in and you help your clients, it sounds like, just enhance and increase the quality of their communication within the organization to understand each other a little bit better and themselves in more depth as well, which can lead to these entire overhauls of how it is that they have been operating to a new way of doing things that really has a profound impact. Debbie, what are some of the biggest challenges and problems that you see within organizations that cause these issues to begin in the first place?
There's a couple. Market right now is really difficult depending on the year, depending on, I live in the United States. We had a political change this year. So economically, there are some big challenges. I think that many organizations focus on what they cannot change, so they knee jerk to try to overcome. I'll bring up tariffs. Okay, tariffs are a big conversation right now because of the United States. I get it. I don't know how much influence organizations have on tariffs. What can impact revenue, profitability, etc., is, are your people doing the things that they can control? And what are those things? Have you identified what that is? And a lot of my clients are always outwardly facing that there's a problem there, there's a problem there, there's a problem there, as opposed to what do we need to fix internally? What can we fix internally? And let's start investing in that for the long haul. What does that look and feel like? Miscommunication is always a big one. I don't care what size organization, I don't care who you speak to, communication is always a big deal. We've got a lot of tools and resources that we help with really cascading messages up and down the chain. But I really feel that a lot of organizations don't internally focus on what we can change and what can we improve to ensure longevity, sustainability, retention, keeping the right people in the right seats for the longest period of time, still developing them for the next leadership role, for the next project role, whatever that might be. That's kind of, I think, where I'm seeing, and then you can bring in technology. Okay, AI has been a massive adjustment. And I've got some clients they're like, we're not going to touch AI because it can hurt the confidentiality or proprietary information or whatnot. So they have problems with that. And then I've got others who are like, yep, we're teaching everybody how to use AI, but we have now guidelines, we have new policies, blah, blah, blah. So it's just like I'm working in two different worlds sometimes where I'm like, hey, have you tried AI in this area that you're struggling in to get some ideas? And they're like, nope, can't do it. And then I'm working in this other world where they're like, oh yeah, we do it for everything. And it's like, oh my goodness, what is happening? So I'm evolving it myself. I have to learn how to cope and deal with and try to be a resource for kind of all of those things while keeping my company, those organizations, people centered.
Mm-hmm. This people-centered approach, it's definitely a newer approach to organizational health and longevity, right? Like this is something that you realized a little bit sooner, right? Or in and around 2018, or you were understanding it before that, and you
Way
really
before
dove
that.
into it. You dove into it around then. But it seems that, since 2019, 2020, with COVID and all of that, previously most companies were just focused on, I don't know, creating some core values and such that were posted on a wall and easily forgotten, or maybe starting to experience or experiment with, open door policies and things like this. But there wasn't really so much of a focus on the health and values alignment within and the true impact that could have. But it seems like a lot of organizations are really starting to identify this and really starting to pursue this as well. Debbie, with what it is that you're focused on and how it is you're helping companies, pursue this values alignment and people-centric approach, what are your focuses internally for growth? I mean, it seems like there's a lot of opportunity that could be coming your way. The market is changing rapidly, right? Previously, not so many companies identified the real need and value of a values alignment and people-centric approach, but perhaps they're looking for that now. So the demand is growing, but the market is also pretty crowded, right? You have a way that you can impact companies profoundly in a way that perhaps few are looking for, but many more will be looking for soon. So with the market opportunity that you're looking at, what are your goals for growth and for capitalizing on the opportunities as they emerge?
Yeah. So, it comes down to marketing. It comes down to getting your name out there. It comes down to not veering from what I believe in. My company is literally about it's people first. We can help you do that. And that's going to drive your numbers. It's going to drive your revenue. It's going to drive your gross profit margin. It's going to, if you take care of the people, you're going to take care of the organization. That's my belief. I have seen it for 30 plus years. That's just the reality. So I am actively seeking and working with companies that get it. They are recognizing the gap that they haven't been investing in their people enough. And that doesn't mean just financially. It's ensuring that there are growth opportunities, whether it's lateral, vertical, whatever the case may be. It's ensuring that people see there is a future with that company. And that's how I market. So the marketing is, hey, let's retain those key employees. Let's retain those, what I call worker bees. Like, some people just love to do what they love to do. That is their zone of genius. Let's keep them for as long as possible. If that means through retirement, how awesome is that, right? That there's a massive cost savings when you don't have to recruit and hire and train and everything else. Personally, from my business standpoint, it's all about finding the people that I can serve and who are looking for what I'm offering. 99% of organizations need it. It's just a matter of having the conversations to go, hey, where's your gap right now? What hurts the most? And whether I can help, or if I've got somebody that I partner with or that I know could help, it's all about paying it forward and making sure that those clients are taken care of and that they're addressing whatever needs to happen.
Mm-hmm. So marketing, getting the right message out, attracting the right people with, what you understand the challenges, or what you understand about the challenges that they have. You mentioned AI a few minutes ago as well, and I believe you're starting to leverage it quite a bit to help you with your marketing and getting the message out there more as well. Tell us a little bit more then, Debbie. I mean, where is it that you're starting to use tech to allow you to pursue your goals for growth and scale?
So I didn't know I was such an entrepreneur and such a visionary until I left corporate America. I wish I would have found this a long time ago. I would have been even more effective in the corporate world. But I have a lot of great ideas. I don't always have a means in my head to be able to put them in a logical order or framework. So I use AI often in, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and I'll pull everything in and all my ideas and all those shiny objects and all the things. Or, hey, I've got a client that has asked about this, and I've got this program. I don't know if that's aligned. Here's some steps. And I'll throw that in the AI and say, kind of help me with either designing a framework or writing an email that is going to encapsulate what was discussed and how my business can help. I don't think that way. We all have our own way of thinking, and I don't have to be an expert in everything. I can stay in my zone of genius and use AI to kind of help put some of those pieces together into that puzzle that I can see. I just don't necessarily always know how to get there.
So offloading things that maybe you don't have a care for, or it's outside of your zone of genius, although they are necessary to allow you to stay focused on, what you're passionate about. But Debbie, where's the line, right? I mean, from your perspective as a certified executive coach focused on human leadership, how do you ensure that, AI tools and systems, marketing and such effectively align with your values and your human-centric approach?
AI can never replace this. We can have conversations with AI, but you can't learn empathy. You can learn definitions. AI can do a lot of things. I think you have to be very smart and intelligent in how you use it and for what purposes. It's not a companion. You have to surround yourself with people. You have to get out and physically be in contact with people. It's very difficult to learn and incorporate the proper behaviors that go with values if you're literally just with an AI bot or whatever, right? So I caution even myself. I'm very cautious with what I use it for, how I'm using it, that I'm not allowing it to overtake my own thought process. Quite frankly, I think I'm better even at critical thinking because of how I'm using AI, because I'm not getting stuck in the details or in the minutia of stuff that I don't want to be stuck in. So I I think the cautionary warning, if you would, it is you use AI to be able to be a resource and a tool. It is not to replace humans and what we were meant and built to be, and that is community and to touch and feel and be part of each other. So that's kind of how I keep that human side of it. And I do have these type of conversations sometimes with my clients because they'll have the same concerns to go, man, I don't want to just go to AI to get everything. So we talk about what are some actions you can take that will maybe enhance the conversation that you actually have with a person, and AI then maybe fills in a gap or something that you guys can't come up with.
Yeah, it's the enhancements, right? It's the synergy. At the end of the day, business is done between humans for humans,
For humans.
right? So
Yeah.
being able to leverage tools and systems to allow you to continue operating within your zone of genius and amplify the efforts and the results that you can provide is really where we believe it comes in to the best as well. So Debbie, curious here as well, right? It sounds like you do have some specific concerns about AI and, where it shouldn't be used or where we should be careful with it. But what are your primary concerns about the potential impact of AI and technology on genuine human connection within organizations?
I think that there is probably a fine line of what AI should or should not be used for. I brought up proprietary information for companies and why some companies don't want to use AI because of the potential of what could get out. I think that we have to develop people on both fronts. You've got to bring in technical expertise. You've got to teach people the technical aptitude to use the tools that are out there, to understand change is constant. It's not scary. We can train for and develop embracing that change, as well as ensuring that we're not losing what it means to be human. Okay, why do you have conversations? Why do you have brainstorming sessions? It's not with tech. That should be with people, because that's when brilliance comes out. That's when just the wow of humans coming together and bringing that. So I think that companies need to embrace both and be able to leverage them appropriately, but you can't do one without the other and assume that you're going to be successful. I don't think that that is in the future. We have to embrace technology, but we absolutely have to continue to develop the human aspects of being human and bring more of that in, especially in a world of technology.
I love that perspective. We, your journey of aligning values with purpose and empowering executives and teams to become true impact leaders is incredibly inspiring. To conclude, based on your philosophy of, focusing on living in your zone of genius and bridging the gap between people and purpose, what's the single most important piece of advice that you'd offer to our audience who are striving to create authentic impact and navigate their own critical pivot moments?
Be curious, ask questions, welcome diverse insights, have conversations. That's what makes humans so beautiful, is that we have and can be empathetic, sympathetic, and compassionate toward others, but it has to be through conversations, and it's about being curious. We don't have to always agree on everything, but when you're curious, that's what drives the best of the best of the best.
Fantastic. And Debbie, for any of our audience who might like to connect with you to learn more about what it is that you're doing, or to perhaps even work with you, what would be the best way to find you online?
LinkedIn, Debbie Radish-Respess, and my website, which is invisiblehorizonscoaching.com.
Thanks again for joining us on the Growth Shift today.
Thanks, David.
And that's a wrap on another episode of The Growth Shift. If this conversation sparked something for you, whether it's a new perspective on failure, a strategy you want to try, or just the reminder that every setback can become a setup for something bigger, hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, the leaders who thrive aren't the ones who avoid change. They're the ones who shift strategically through it. If you're ready to build the systems that help you grow without the chaos, head over to valentix.io. We help businesses like yours scale smarter, not harder. I'm David Zilstra, and I'll see you in the next shift.